Again, Surbi has done all the thank yous, I'll do them later, I guess. But yes, it was a great experience. And for my project, I'm doing this on gender inequality among the elderly population in India. So I managed to find some data, so I was struggling with it. But then with the Tableau presentation, Delphine, my mentor, was super helpful. And she was absolutely a savior. And whenever I had doubts, she was right there to help me out. I'll begin with this. I think the elderly population section, a lot needs to be explored, remains to be explored within this section of the population. As we see that the demography across the world is changing. This is 2020 on the left side. There is this 2020 world population data, and on the right side it's 2050 population data, and we see that between 2020 and 2050, the entire demographic pattern would go under quite a lot of change, and the elderly population would be 21% from 13% at present. The same is the case with India. The demographic changes are happening quite fast. The population is aging, and between these 2 years, 2020 and 2050, in 2050, 40% of the population would be 45 plus. So there is a special need to discuss the problems of the elderly, and for India, some features that I'll show you about the elderly population in India. Not just the 45 plus population would be 40%, the 60 plus population would be 20% of the total population. The gender differences, as we are seeing, as the data shows, are quite notable, be it in terms of earnings or social security or retirement benefits that are available to the elderly population. In terms of earnings or currently working population, the 45 plus, 70% of elder men are currently working, and only 35% of women are working. Even in the 60 plus age group, 50% of men compared to 20% of women are currently working. There's been quite a paucity of data on elderly, and there have been attempts to have a synchronized or harmonized data sets across countries. And the data set that I finally got to use, or finally decided to use, was the longitudinal age survey of India. This is the first time that a nationwide survey of the elderly population has been done in India. And this is, there have been attempts in other countries also. And this is, in India, is the largest longitudinal aging study that has been done across the world. So this was done, the data was collected in 1718, and it was a sample of 72,000 odd 45 plus population. Analyzing some aspects of this data set, one thing is apparent that a lot of women, and this is in across the states data. So in all these states, across states in India, it's generally that the females are staying, higher percentage of females are staying alone as compared to men. Only in 2 states, say Delhi and Punjab, is that the males staying alone are higher in the state. But otherwise, if you see, it's across all the states, a higher percentage of women is staying alone. In Tamil Nadu, it's quite high, 11.6% of the women are staying alone. So this is quite starking, because in the higher age group, when more care is needed, women are found in need or staying alone. If this shows sort of across the states, what's the difference in the monthly earnings. So there are three types of work that are across which the data has been collected. One is agriculture, non-agriculture, and wages and salaries. So if we see in the this is agriculture, female and male agriculture, we can clearly see the disparity in the earnings. The median wage for women is around 4,000 rupees, Indian rupees, and for men it is around 6,500 rupees. So we can see the disparity in terms of the earnings in the agriculture sector. Same is the case for the non-agriculture sector. If we look at these two box plots, the median wage for the women, it's 5,300 for non-agriculture sector, and for men it's 11,000. Wages and salaries, again there is a huge disparity. The median wage is around 7,000 for women and 16,000 for men. So this clearly shows how how great the disparity is. In this is an across tabulation of the ratio of male to female earnings, and across again those three types of work: agriculture, non-agriculture, and wages and salaries. In agriculture sector, we see that so red, as you see in the title itself, that shows that men have higher earnings than women, and the darker the red it is, the higher the differential. For instance, Punjab has the male earnings are 2.3 times that of females. In Karnataka, southern state, it's 1.5 times. Some of the northeastern states, Arunachal Pradesh, it's relatively better in terms of that the male earnings are only 1.1 times higher than the female earnings. Similarly, we see in non-agriculture sector. Sorry, it's just, yeah. So the disparity is stark. Towards the northeastern states, Arunachal Pradesh, it's rather equal in terms of the ratio. But in Madhya Pradesh, for instance, it is 3 times, the male earnings are 3 times the female earnings. In terms of wages and salaries, there are, again, the northeastern states, there are a couple of states, around 3 states, 2 in northeast and 1 in Delhi, which has a higher or an equal wage for the females. But in other states, Himachal Pradesh, for instance, it's 3.5 times male earnings. Males are earning 3.5 times. This is a broad aggregation of type of work. But if we go further disaggregated, then we see further disparities in terms of allocation of work also, and in terms of earnings also. In the next, just a sec. Yeah. So this is one of the, this is the government support which is provided to the elderly. I'm just taking one example of this is Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, which is quite low in terms of monthly provision for the elderly. It's only 200 rupees for 60 to 79 years of age of population, and beyond 79, it's 500 per month. And we can see that in most of the states, the males are getting, the proportion of males getting the old age pension is much higher than that of females. So we can see the disparity in terms of old age support also. There are many other indicators, but I chose only a couple of here, in which, so for instance, there are retirement benefits where again the disparity is higher, insurance availability, again the disparity between male and female is much higher. As we all know, the activists around the rights for the elderly have been asking for better support for the elderly and a better plan towards 2030 and beyond for the elderly. And for that, there is intersectionality among the goals: no poverty for all ages, good health, goal 1, 3, 4, even education, gender equality, certainly, and then decent work. All these sustainable development goals have intersectional linkages and have elderly, which have elderly also at the center of their targets.
Right, 1 minute, Richa.
Yeah, this is my last slide.
Okay.
So in terms of looking at, this data set that I have started using, and it has a lot of intricacies and a lot of further disaggregation, which needs to be further studied. But of the presentation that I could manage from this data set, so the broad policy suggestions certainly come that basically the need is, even this is a sample survey, the need is to better the data, have a continuous series of data. Lastly would be a biennial survey and production of data. So data is getting data is at the base, so that policies can be formulated on the basis of those. Gender discrimination in work and earnings needs to be addressed by the government. Economic security. So there is a demand already by various activist groups for a universal social pension, because it's quite meager at present. There are different policy prescriptions, but they're not geared towards providing a comprehensive support to the elderly. Decent living conditions, proper housing and transport, accessible transport is required. Provision for health is very crucial because of the increasing needs in the higher age group. But just a case in point, our union budget in India was announced day before yesterday, and budgetary provision for the elderly, a specific program on that, the allocations for that were reduced rather. So the government priorities for that matter are a bit challenging right now. And decent work conditions, we can't just say that elderlies are redundant in terms of working workplaces. So we need to have more accessible workplaces, flexible retirement plans, and all. So these are some preliminary policy suggestions that could emerge from this study. So I would wrap up here. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Richa.